Svyatoslav Popovych, volunteer, activist, artist, and the founder of Creative Siege Charity Foundation. Svyatoslav has been leading crowdfunding campaigns for 3 years, providing Ukrainian soldiers with equipment, vehicles, and essential supplies. He personally takes part in painting and delivering these vehicles to the front lines. In his work, he merges volunteerism with art, turning support for military into collective cultural movement that brings Ukraine victory closer. Hello, Svyatoslav. Nice to see you.
Hi, fine.
So you've been doing this work for already 3 years as a volunteer, sourcing these cars, painting these cars. And please tell me, what is the part of volunteer movement during the war?
That's a good question. The role of volunteering in this full-scale war. First and foremost, it's the fastest possible support for the military, regardless of the state. Because at the state level, supply is happening, but that supply chain is very long. Volunteers can do it about 10 times faster. That's why super fast supply and quick action in providing rapid help is crucial. For the guys on the front lines, this is very important because there are things that are needed urgently, sometimes even yesterday or the day before.
What actually you've delivered during this time, and how big is this supplies were for Ukrainians? Just give us a picture.
Well, during this time, my personal volunteering as an artist has already massed over 360 vehicles that have reached the front lines. Through the Foundation's various projects, we've raised over 10 million hryvnias in aid. A more accurate amount needs to be calculated, but it's definitely between 10 and 20 million over the last 3 years. There are projects involving the transformation of weapons, which we turn into art objects, sell at auctions, and raise funds. In so doing, we create a story that reflects on the history of weapons and working with them as a traumatic object that we then turn into an artistic one, reflecting on our internal experiences. What else? There's a large community of people who are involved in creativity, creating visual campaigns to spread information about Ukraine abroad. We create posters, we create separate projects, we hold exhibitions, and everything related to media support for NGOs abroad. We work to unite Ukrainians and everyone, and we help.
Oh, you're doing really a lot, I think. And this is all volunteer work. And how is actually works from the scratch? I mean, what is the process? Is somebody's calling you to have these contacts from soldiers, or how you get the request from soldiers? How all this volunteers machine works?
It all started at the beginning of the full-scale invasion with close communication with my closest friends who were already in the military at that point, and everything started from working with them. Over time, the number of close people in the military increased as well. At some point, we realized that we couldn't help everyone. Unfortunately, we would like to, but such are the realities. There are 3 or 4 brigades we constantly work with. It's a short chain. I know exactly what they need. They know that I'll help them. And I know it won't go anywhere, left or right. Whatever I deliver, they use it and we communicate about everything. Everything's fine in terms of providing for them, for us. The understanding that everything we've delivered truly reaches where it needs to go.
So where do you actually get all these contacts, or where they got your contact?
It's all word of mouth. Someone tells someone else, there are people who do this and can help with this. When you're involved in this for more than a year, your bubble is quite large. There have been various requests, such as when we deliver powder from artillerymen to artillery units, or conditionally explosives to FPV units.
Wow. So I know that in your in the name of Creative Siege, you have this second word siege. It means a Cossack place to live or like a base. So and I have a question. What do you think? What is the heritage of Cossacks in this whole war for you? I see your mustache is pretty like Cossack style, and like what is the like Cossacks culture means for you as an artist and volunteer for this war?
That's a good question. I think it's the memory of the past. It's the identification of us as a nation because it's in our genes. It is within us. The Cossacks were both very creative people and also fought for our freedom. They faced the exact same challenges we're facing today. They fought for the same thing 300 years ago. And this just shows that history is cyclical. And based on their experience, you understand how we can form our present in a cohesive and great way by referring to what has already happened.
For example, what you're basing on?
Struggle. The struggle for our freedom. It's all the same as it was back then. It's happening now. The cyclical nature of history and the events of when we fought for our culture and identity as a nation 300 years ago. And we're still fighting for that now. This is an important component of memory. It's what forms a nation.
Yeah, unfortunately, we still need to fight for this. Returning to other questions, to your volunteers work. So you work with vehicles, you help with vehicles, providing vehicles, and also you are like painting them. Why vehicles on the front line is important? Why we need them?
I'm the one who masks the vehicles because I can do it quickly. At the beginning, of course, I used to spend half a day masking the first cars, but now I spend about an hour to remask a van. 2 hours at most. And with good dry weather and using the materials I need, it leaves my place in about 3 hours. That's really fast. The need for masking vehicles is to ensure they don't shine. We cover them with matte paint, which doesn't reflect light. That's the first and most important thing. The second part depends on the specific tasks, where the guys are, and what tasks they are performing. If they're in a forested area, they need camouflage. And here I play the role of an artist. I look outside and think, what's outside today? Ah, there's green. So I grabbed some green paints. At one point, I just did a gradient in color, but then I thought, no, it needs to be something more interesting. So I took a branch, grabbed some leaves, and combined what was available, literally using nature around the car by applying certain masks and layers of paint. This creates a really cool camouflage effect that works without needing additional netting or similar things on top. This helps to remain hidden. There have been cases when we created camouflage to make a car look like it had burned out, as if it was destroyed. This for the guys in aerial reconnaissance who work very close to the front line. The idea was for the enemy to think the car had already burned out. So we deliberately created a burnt-out look. So there are all sorts of interesting requests.
Also, I know that like vehicles itself is really important on the front line too for logistics and for basically moving around. So I think our viewers cannot fully understand how big Ukraine is and how important it is to have a vehicle to get to the front and back. So what do you know about the like logistical part and importance of the vehicles itself?
This is very important because not everyone is constantly at the front line. You go there, work, and then return. Usually, you live about 20-30 kilometers from the front line. You need to cover those logistics. Even if you're at a constant deployment location, you still need to go and pick up ammunition, or you have wounded people and need to evacuate them. Vehicles are used for a variety of purposes, and it's not just pickups or small vans, but also large trucks. 5-ton, 20-ton trucks, a lot of different vehicles. That's why Fast Supply depends heavily on this. And besides vehicles, many use buggies and motorcycles too. This is because in places where nothing can pass through, the guys really rely on motorcycles. My friends from the Moto to the Front project are reworking vehicles, old motorcycles, installing more powerful engines, and passing them to the guys. This project also involves the biker community.
How you get funds for your work, and what happened to donations during the last year? Is it like changed somehow? Because I know that you are getting funds from crowdfunding mostly, but maybe you have other sources, or how it goes right now for you.
Crowdfunding for all these military aid funds goes in waves. There's no consistent awareness that we'll have a set amount each month. It would be nice, but it doesn't work that way. So it can be a few months of successful fundraising. But sometimes there are moments when you call the guys and say, "Sorry, we only raised half of what we planned. Let's figure something out." And sometimes the military themselves close the fundraising. For me, as a volunteer, this is paradoxical.
So they're not getting this vehicles, equipment, IFACs, anything from the government, because it's really hard to get it, like because of logistics, because some other stuff. So they need to cover that it's themselves, or we will like donate or get money for this. What are you like doing in creative way to get this funds more like quicker?
Honestly, I'd love not to have to come up with anything. I wish everyone would just help consciously, with the understanding that when you wake up, your duty as a civilian is to donate to all the fundraisers you see, as much as possible. It's not necessary to donate $100 to every fundraiser. But the present situation dictates that you wake up and think, "Wow, I can skip one coffee or not smoke and throw $10 into a fundraiser." No donation is too small because, really, from 1,000 people donating $10 each, a fundraiser can be closed. And for you, that $10 may seem insignificant, but it adds up. I wish it were like that, but we have to come up with new ideas, create art objects, make collaborations with others to attract a larger audience. It's a complex mechanism that requires a lot of resources, which could have been spent on other tasks to do more. But, unfortunately, life is a bit different than we would like.
So if you have free $10 for us to move this movement forward and to help supply our soldiers with a good equipment, please share this video or donate to the link you have below this video. So by the way, talking about donations, do you have any donations from Americans, and like what amount it can be? Do you have like donors from America?
As for regular donors, there aren't many, but there are certain groups that occasionally donate through PayPal, saying things like, "We are here, we remember, we are trying to help." It's not constant support, but it's very effective and very important.
Is like mostly our Ukrainians in US, or it's like Americans?
I think it's mostly Ukrainians. I would like it to be Americans as well, because there are more people there than here, so they have more capacity to help. It's important to understand, again, it doesn't matter whether the amount is large or small. What matters is that it's small but constant.
Yeah, talking about capabilities. So as you see, U.S. Like shifting its stance on supporting Ukraine. Last several months is when Trump came to the power, and so what do you think about that, and how it makes you feel when you see all this news that's going on?
At some point, you just want to lie down in the grave. But if not us, then who? Nobody but us. So, despite everything happening in world politics, we don't have the power to influence that. We have to do our part. We have to continue looking for help. We have to establish contact. And it's exactly because of regular people like us that everything holds together. And it's in the power of America, regular Americans, to help Ukraine, regardless of who is in power there.
Also, they are talking a lot recently about ceasefire and like how it makes you feel, and what you feel like think is it possible this year, and if yes, how it can influence us.
A ceasefire. I don't really believe it will happen. Because, again, going back to history, not even in the context of Ukraine's resistance, but in general, Russia has never honored its commitments, and nobody believes that they'll honor it this time. Personally, I don't believe it. It will only lead to them regrouping, rearming, and continuing to do exactly the same thing they were doing because their goal is to destroy the Ukrainian nation. This isn't about capturing land. It seems to me that they have so much land, they don't even know what to do with it. They can build and build and build and build. The issue here is just imperial ambitions.
So it's not gonna benefit us at all.
I believe that a ceasefire, especially a temporary one, will only delay the point of no return. Although we've already long passed that point, it won't give us anything. And it may even work against us because internal turmoil will start within the country. People will start thinking about other things instead of focusing on what's necessary. And until we reach our goal, no agreements can be made.
What about armed forces that Europe is promising to send to Ukraine? Is it gonna help anyhow?
And do you believe they will come?
Well, I don't believe that they will do at least something, because it's like they are talking about miserable amounts. It's like 10,000 people. 10,000 people is like 2 brigades in Ukraine. It's like
one brigade.
but I don't think that they will change anything. What do you think?
Looking back at the past 3 years since the full-scale invasion and all the talks from Europe about negotiations, it's still just talk. There have been no concrete actions, no direct steps that make me think, okay, if they said it, well, everything will definitely change. There's no feeling like that. Will 10,000 of their soldiers change anything? Absolutely nothing. That's not the number of people that could even cover a small part of the front line, which is more than 2,000 kilometers. This is something that has to be understood. 2,000 kilometers of front line. That's a lot. And it's impossible to cover that even with 50,000 of their soldiers.
Talking about troops, I know that you recently you had a decision to join the armed forces of Ukraine. Why now, and how it's happened?
I've always said that the time would come when I would, just like everyone else, join the armed forces. It seems that time has come because, first of all, people are running out. My effectiveness here is not the same as it was at the beginning, because I've already streamlined my processes. They are ongoing. I understand that I can now distance myself, delegate some tasks to others, and continue contributing at a different level, helping from the inside, but with the experience of my previous actions. So, I guess this is a logical sequence of events, from volunteering to being on the other side. Being in the military. I would call it the steady path of a conscious person. It leads to concrete actions, but concrete actions in a place where you are most effective. Because after these years, you have your communications. You understand where you will be the most effective. So, to strengthen the military from that side, it's probably the best way. That's how it goes.
Can you reveal where exactly you're going and what is the position?
I'm joining the Unmanned Aerial Systems Forces in a special response unit that is working on introducing new technologies for unmanned aerial vehicles. I can't share much, but we have contracts with the United States for the development of interesting UAVs that we are testing here in Ukraine. We are working with partners on the development of these technologies. It all came in process.
Like, will you learn about the drones after, or you already have some knowledges?
You can't say I was very interested in this direction at first. It just happened that this is another area that the foundation works on. We have a separate division, ET Birds. And my close friends and I started helping this special unit at the beginning of 2023 by working on some FPV drones. They physically didn't have enough people to keep up with everything. So we gradually started soldering, reassembling, and eventually started assembling them ourselves. Now, with our own efforts and collections, we've assembled about 1,000, maybe 1,500 FPVs. Is that a lot? In the context of war, it's a tiny drop in the ocean, but for a group of 5 people, it's actually quite a lot. So, in the process of setting up this link, I gained knowledge in developing FPVs, wings, and all kinds of radio-controlled gadgets.
What will happen with your fund, with your work that you have when you will join the armed forces?
Good question. Actually, all my work, since the beginning of the full-scale war, has shifted. Everything used to be based on freelance projects, and now, if I can take a freelance project, I do. 90% of my time is spent on volunteering. 90 or maybe even more. So, there's just a little left to meet basic needs, to eat.
What will happen with your volunteer work as well?
Good question. Just as people are running out in the military and not many are eager to replace them, the same is happening with volunteering. All those funds and volunteers that were there at the beginning of the full-scale war, either most of them have already joined the armed forces, or they're just really exhausted and burned out. And the issue of rest for us is very difficult because we've kind of broken down in this sense. And we can't afford the rest we used to get. To recover properly, you can't just take a week off or even a month. The level of burnout and fatigue is just total for everyone. But despite all of this, no one is stopping, and we continue moving forward. Things are being streamlined. I'm passing on some things to others, delegating, but I'll still combine the foundation's activities with work in the military. So, there will just be even less time in the day to rest.
Oh my God. So you're telling that there's not enough people, not enough people in volunteer society as well. What about donations and people who are donating? Are they like also tired from the war? Do you feel that our ranks of activists are shrinking?
Everyone is tired, from civilians to the military and volunteers. Everyone is totally burned out, exhausted. And it shows because the psyche disconnects you from traumatic events, and you try not to react to them. And this affects the number of donations. People begin to retreat into their own bubble, not paying attention to what is happening outside. And unfortunately, they don't think about the fatal consequences that will happen if everyone starts just focusing on their lives. I'm not saying that we shouldn't live our lives. We need to live life, but with the understanding that 5,060% of our time should be dedicated to helping the military or volunteering, whether it's weaving nets or anything else, any help that contributes to our future, because this is for all of us, not just for the military. Our collective future depends on us. Only we can change this, and no one else. And until this realization comes to people's minds, unfortunately, things will continue to be difficult. It's hard to say that everyone has stopped helping because collections still get closed. We still come up with these kinds of tricks, prizes, or something else. But from time to time, large parts of society start to turn away, and then there's a wave and things shift back. This way, we are forming a conscious layer of people, but for now, it's unstable.
Maybe the most toughest, the hardest question I have for you. From one hand, you told that people are tired. That's what you said. People are tired, and we have a lack of people here in Kiev and also in other places, especially in the army. But the other hand, you're saying that a ceasefire is a bad idea, and we don't need to rest, and we need to continue. I have my own opinion about that, but also what I see our government is also feeling that we are kind of shrinking in numbers, Ukrainians, and our strength to fight. But still, what do you feel this collision of thoughts here? What do you feel about this?
It's very hard to explain because you have to be here to understand it all. From the outside, it looks very surreal, and it's hard to convey the right message to understand why there can't be a temporary ceasefire. And even with all our exhaustion, why we continue doing this? Because if we stop and give in, we won't be able to pull ourselves together. And at that moment, the enemy will, of course, take advantage of it. It's not guaranteed that we'll stand firm a second time when it all starts again. And it will definitely continue if it doesn't stop now. So, this is probably our karma as Ukrainians. To see it through to the end and not stop for a second. Because stopping will be fatal for us. There are no clear guarantees that a ceasefire will lead to peace.
And also, it will be fatal not only for Ukraine, but I think also for Europe and for all democratic world, because it's like you are destroying the ideal of democracy here. You are destroying this ideal, and if you will destroy Ukraine, you will destroy democracy in a ideological sense. Yeah. And also, Europe will have threat to all of them. I mean, I just trying to say that this war, it's not only Ukrainian war, or you already think different.
No, I don't think differently. This war concerns the whole world. First and foremost, it seems that most Ukrainians understand that this isn't a Ukraine-Russia war, but it is actually the Third World War. It is just not the same as the Second World War. It has a slightly altered form of confrontation between major powers. So, does this concern Europe, America, and the entire world? Of course, it does. Should they be responsible for it? Of course, they should be. They need to understand that if we break, everything continues with them. And through this understanding, we don't stop either standing. We don't stop either. Because we realize that if they break us, everything will fall apart very quickly. So, yes.
Svyatoslav, thank you so much for the interview. This have been Wild East. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe this channel. Support with dollars if you can. You can support our work by donating via link in description below. Every contribution goes toward critical medical aid to help save Ukrainian lives. Thank you so much and see you next time on Wild East.